Yo, what's up, peeps? Alrighty. Give me 1 second. We will get started. Alrighty, so today it's gonna be a pretty quick one. Probably do like 30-40 minutes. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to do a body from like a 3/4 view, something around like this, and probably a little bit more dynamic looking than that, and then a body from like maybe like a 3/4 but back view, and I'm just gonna try to put in the muscles using this guide. So yep, hopefully you enjoy. Alright, so first let's look up a good reference photo. So I'm going to be looking, I have both my computers up right now. I'm going to be looking on my other computer for the chat, so if I miss your chat for a little bit, just, be patient. I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. Let's see here. Let's look at my more dynamic references. Let me find one from here that I can use. What about this one? As many times as I have done gesture drawings on this like file or this folder that I have not done a drawing of this one yet. So we can start here. Give me 1 second. I just want to finish setting this up a little bit so I can see the chat as I am going. Cool. Alright, let's get started here. Hopefully all y'all are doing well. I also have not warmed up today, so please ignore any roughness here. And for those of you that are here, I do appreciate you. So, oh, that's not quite right. So let's get, and just so y'all know, like this is just, I've had a couple videos on this already, but this is just Loomis method I'm using for the head. And I am using reference for this, like I said earlier. All right, let me turn down this music just a little bit. That's a little better. But yeah, if y'all want me to do another video or something like that on the Loomis method, just tell me. I switch between this method and this method here. They both have their like pros and cons. I think that the Loomis method overall is a little quicker, and I think it's actually slightly more accurate because you're starting off with like a spherical shape instead of starting off with like a cube-like shape. And to me, like when I'm doing my drawings, like this, I just kind of did this for my head, but this one's better looking in my opinion than this one. I could take my time and make it look good, but as far as like time management is concerned, this is easier for me. As of right now, I've been switching it up a little bit actually. Alright, so let's get this general shape in here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? It's really important, at least in my opinion. People are going to have differing views on this, but in my opinion, it's really important to stay really loose and rough when you're doing this part of your drawing. Part of that is just because if you're really stiff while you're doing this, you're going to get a stiff looking drawing. The negatives to doing this kind of method of creating like a a gesture or like a, you know, a foundation that is really loose like this is that you're not necessarily training your dexterity as much as you could be. And what I mean by that is like I could have made like all of this like here, like basically just a few lines instead of doing all these lines, and the same with like the legs and stuff like that. But again, I prefer to stay loose here and just get like a really energetic looking drawing, foundational drawing before I start really getting in there and working on my like my line art, if I can think. Sorry, it's been a long week for me. I hate feet. It's fine. And you can't really see this foot, but I'm gonna guess it's somewhere here. So I'm noticing some slight changes that I probably need to make with my drawing here, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. His arm is facing down this way, and it's away from us, so it's something like this, and the hands will come in and down. Alright, I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit where my overlaps are. What I'm actually going to do, instead of finishing up this particular one first, actually I think I need to take this part and bring it in a little bit. Instead of like starting a new one, or instead of finishing up this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just go ahead and do my other like rough skeleton, and then I will just after that go ahead and work on the musculature and stuff like that. I do want to go back though and correct this pelvis because it's not quite right. It's actually facing away from us, kind of like this. So this part's not here, and then we're gonna get that. Okay, it's a little better. Alright, so let me look at another one. Let me see here. Ooh, I actually really love the gesture in this one, so I will do this one. this isn't quite right, so I'm going to redo that. Oops, sorry, let me bring the chat back up, just in case somebody said anything. Alright. Alright, so let me cruise through the rest of this. My lord, this head's huge. Okay, let me shrink this down a little bit. Alright. And let me see something here. Yeah, this isn't quite lining up. I guess, like, I mean, that head was big, but let me see something here. It's really not too far off from the reference. I guess I could shrink it down just a little bit and then bring it down. The big issue right now, though, is that my legs aren't long enough. So let me... Let me free transform. Pull them down a little bit. See how that looks now. It's a little better, just a little more. Alright. Then I think that this is okay, but let me check. It's not too bad. I am going to pull that leg over just a little bit for balancing reasons. The beauty of digital art, right? Don't have to redraw everything. Alright. So let's get these arms in. Alright, and then if y'all are wondering like why I'm using these particular shapes and stuff, because they're not, this isn't anatomically correct right now, but that's not the purpose of this, of what I'm currently doing. If you look at somebody like Kuzumari, he has a more refined, like, foundational, like, what do I want to call this, like mannequin, I guess. His mannequin includes some of the anatomy that you see, but I don't have an issue with that because that is how you draw things quicker, right? But my main piece of that I would say is I want to be able to cruise through this as fast as I can, not worry about the anatomy so much, but rather think about the overall gesture of what I'm doing, and then worry about anatomy later. Because I don't want to fool myself into thinking that this is an anatomically like accurate figure, right? And I will then go back over this and do the portion of this that I really enjoy, which is this stuff here. As you can see, maybe I can like at some point I'll do a Patreon or something like that, and when I do that, I'll give whoever has Clip Studio Paint, I'll give those individuals this particular Clip Studio Paint file, and in this I have created this this anatomical figure that is, I wouldn't say it's probably not 100% accurate, but it's accurate enough, and I have even taken the liberty of going through and labeling each and every single one, saying for the most part, I can probably go back through and clean it up, but saying where they originate, where they go to, and then you can kind of look and see how each one of these muscles actually sits on the body. So for instance, if you want to look at, you know, the upper leg, you know, you get to see like where the gluteus minimus is, and where it attaches. It's attaching at the top of the hip and the top of the femur, or sorry, the mid part of the femur down here. The same thing is true of the gluteus maximus. You know, the hamstrings, you know, you don't need to know all of these names of the hamstrings, to be honest with you, but you can't even really see that one. But this, you can see that a little bit, and really this is the one that you're going to see the most of right here. Just stuff like that. So if that's something that y'all are interested in, if you're going back through later on and you're seeing this video, just, you know, just comment or whatever. I'll get a Patreon started maybe once I get to 1,000 subs. I don't think that that'll happen until like, I don't know, who knows, but like maybe like around this time next year, I'll start a Patreon, and maybe I can give this out to like people that, you know, donate or you know, that are, you know, fund me or whatever. Alright, so I would say that we have two at least semi-decent mannequin drawings here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start to add some musculature on top, and what I'm also going to do is I'm going to use this when I have questions to guide me. So let's get that started. I'm not even going to worry about like the face and stuff like that. These heads are fine the way that they are. I will use a different color though, so that if you want to follow along you can. And I'm just gonna draw them. I'm not gonna fill them in like I did in here and take all that time, because I'll be here forever. Alright, so let's start here. So the first thing that I'll put in for this one is the Sternocleidomastoid. Here, let me make sure I have that actually in view for you. Sternocleidomastoid, it's a muscle, it's a neck muscle that attaches from the back of the head, kind of. It's like in between the back of the head and your ear, and it wraps kind of around like this. And you're going to think about that on both sides. Alright, so that one's pretty much finished here. The next muscle that I'll think about is the Pectoralis Major. It's going to come down a little bit like this, and it actually, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but it actually attaches onto your humerus pretty high up. And this part down here comes up and attaches to this point, and then this part right in here, it reaches around where the clavicle is, because the clavicle goes kind of like that, and it actually about 2/3, not quite 2/3 of the way down the clavicle, and it will come down and attach like that. And then we are going to do so something I see that I'm going to change a little bit here. Here, let me, before I do that. I am going to change this just a little bit because it's a little too rounded. So let's go back here. So we're going to do the Delt. I already have a sphere here, which actually serves pretty well as the Delt. So the deltoids go almost halfway down the humerus, so it's gonna probably end right in here, and it does kind of, from this view, we'll see all, like, a little bit of all three of the heads. There's this small pit right in here where the first head is, and in this case it's going to overlap your pectoralis major muscles a little bit. So it's going to come in like this, and then this, there's like this section right in here that is going to be where your clavicle and your scapula, like, spine meet. And this is the kind of the spot of where the third head is, so it's going to be right in here, or the middle head, sorry. So it's going to be like kind of right in here. And then your other head is going to kind of wrap around in here. And what you'll end up with is something that's kind of shaped like this. This might not be perfect, so you know what? I'm going to actually go to my reference and look. So from like a 3/4 view, like, this isn't the exact same view, but it's pretty close. I'm going to go back through, look at upper arm, and look at the deltoid and see here. So we have this piece coming down to this point here, and it rounds upwards. The first head's right here in the front, middle head's here, and I would say it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And really, when you're drawing this, what you would really get is just kind of this shape right in here. So as long as you have something that resembles like this kind of shape, you're pretty good to go. Alright, and if you wanted to add some of the musculature on there so that you can kind of feel the fibers, you just kind of do lines like that. Alright, so the next is the deltoids kind of have this like arrow that point down here, and that arrow is actually where you're going to have your I believe Brachialis muscle. This muscle you don't really see too much, so you don't have to worry about it so much while you're drawing, but it will. You know, I'm probably only going to finish this one in this video. I'll do the other one in maybe the next live stream, but you are you're gonna get a little bit of it right in here, and what this muscle kind of does, it actually attaches like here on both sides of the humerus, but it serves as like this like split, this like divide between the biceps and the triceps. In this view, you're going to see both the biceps and the triceps. So one interesting piece of the biceps that people tend to get wrong is actually they go underneath the pectoralis major muscle. So you're going to get this overlap here. And to be honest with you, this feels a little bit long, but we'll just run with it. And then right now this muscle is very stretched out, so it's not going to have much of a squash to it. It's just going to kind of have this shape, and that's really about it. So that's pretty much done. And then this back shape over here. So we're going to have the triceps. So the triceps are a little bit more confusing than people might make them. They're huge, actually. They make up a good portion of your arms. In fact, if you look at my reference here, you can even see the triceps bulging out in the back and from the front view, but from the back view you cannot see the biceps bulging out, and that's because of the sheer mass of the triceps in general. So I'm going to go ahead and let me think here. It's kind of a 3/4 view, so we're going to get something a little bit like this for the triceps. So we're going to have this head here kind of popping out and coming down and attaching there. And we will have, like, kind of see this, like, separation. And then we're going to get this muscle right in here, the brachialis. And now we have this really interesting muscle called the brachioradialis. The reason why it's called that is because it is it's a muscle that starts off kind of where the brachialis muscle ends, and it actually goes all the way down to your radius bone, which is the bone that's attached to your it's part of the, you have two bones. You have the ulna and the radius in your forearm. The radius spins around the ulna, and it actually goes from the here, let me show you. I always get this confused. It goes from the anterior side of your arm, so the part that is closest to your body, and it then will fold over towards the thumb, I believe. Let me check that real quick. I don't want to give you all. It might be the opposite. It might start from the posterior side. 1 second. Sorry, I'm just looking it up on my phone. So I was wrong. At least I believe I was wrong. Cause let me think here. Alright, yeah, so I was wrong. It starts on the posterior side, and your ulna is kind of behind it, because your ulna is where your actual elbow is. So when your arm is supined, I believe that's what that's called, but when your arm is like with your thumb facing away from your body, it'll almost appear like these two bones are parallel to one another. So yeah, it actually starts on the posterior side of your body, so the outside of your body, and then goes towards the thumb. So my mistake there. So, long story short, you're going to get this muscle here. It starts right in there, and it wraps around, and it only goes about halfway down the arm as far as like what we really see. So it's going to be something like that. I didn't do a very good job of drawing out this hand, but let's pretend, well, I kind of did. The thumb's over on this side. So we're really getting this wrapping around feel right here. And then we also want to show that there's like an overlap here. I think that the overlap would be like this. I'd have to look at a reference. I'm not going to do that right this second. But I think that the overlap would occur this way. But I might be wrong. And now we have the, what is this called? The anterior muscle group. So there's a whole bunch of names for these like forearm muscles. You don't need to know all of them. So you got the anterior side, which is, on the inside of your body. And as you can see here, it goes from, the inside of your humerus to the palm. So this part over here to the palm. And then the posterior muscle group goes from, the posterior side of your body, and it goes to the back side of your hand. So we're getting this muscle group right in here, and these are going to go about 3/4, both of them. 3/4 of the way. And just kind of trails off like this. And then we get your ulna here that actually is going to really separate the other muscle group, the anterior muscle group, from the posterior muscle group on the forearm. And you're going to get something like, sorry, that's one thing I do need to study is like elbows. I know that sounds funny, but I do need to study the elbow a little bit because I'm not 100% sure how to draw that. But now we're going to get this that reaches down, that anterior muscle group. And let me clean this up just a little bit. This is a little funky looking. So let me actually, I think that the wrist is too big. I think that it probably needs to be right in here. This bone is straight. And this muscle group is going to go like this. And then this one's going to kind of trail down like that. You're going to get something like that. And then I'm going to fly through this other side really fast. Actually, let me do the trapezius muscles. So they start also kind of at the back of the head, and they just kind of connect right in here from this view. And there's this hollow spot because these muscles actually kind of run into the front head of the deltoid. So you get something like this, and they're round like that. And this part right in here is like this pit. There's not too much muscle. Your sternocleidomastoids also have like another section that kind of goes off. You don't really see that too much. Sometimes in like the Hulk or something like that you can see it, but not so much in regular people. So let me fly through this other side really fast since I've done a lot of talking. So this is actually going to be higher up, I think. sorry, I'm doing a video. I'll finish up in just a second. Yeah, let me just go ahead and I will draw in. You know what? Since I did half, I will finish up just with the legs, and then I can kind of do the rest at another time. So your quads, there's 3 muscles in the front part of your quads. The first one is going to come down the lowest, and then the other one comes up kind of midway, and then the third muscle is kind of right in here. And this is really what's going to be pretty visible here from this view. You can get this kind of like teardrop action going on. And it's rounded, right? So it's kind of like this. You're probably going to see a little bit of the back part of the glutes here. Then you're going to get this like inner muscle, like I think it's called like the Gracilis muscle, that's going to come in here. From this view, you're not going to really see any of the calf muscles at all. And that's kind of what you would end up getting for your quadriceps. Something like that. And then the leg muscles are something I still need to study, so I would go back and forth, but I won't do it right this second. And then let me look at the abs really fast, and I'll just finish off with the abs. We can do this at another point. Your abs are pretty easy, actually. I think that people overcomplicate them. They kind of work as this like just this section in between like the upper torso and or your like rib cage and your pelvis region. Really easy stuff. I'm not going to go into the details of each ab and everything like that, but you separate it up into like 10 different parts, or 8, depending on your character and how ripped they are, and that's really about it. The Latissimus dorsi muscles, those are in the back, so you're not really going to get too much of that. I'll go over those in a different video. And then you get your obliques, which you will see from this view. Your obliques are kind of going to like gently wrap around the rib cage, and really they come up to your iliac crest, which it's kind of hard to see from this angle, but it would end up being something like this. And really that's about it. That's how you would add anatomy onto your figure that you've drawn. I will come back. I'm a little bit disappointed in myself. I do need to restudy leg muscles and stuff like that, so I will do that at a different date, and then get back to you on how to properly kind of draw those, because I'm not really happy with my knowledge on this. I thought I knew more, but I do not. So yeah, I will end the stream there. In the next stream, what I'll do is I'll just bring this same thing up, and I'll do the stuff for her. But I hope that you learned something. Hopefully this was helpful for you. I appreciate y'all for sticking around. I'm Manga Mike, and I'm out.